Good evening, my most wonderful FreeMelon initiates. Welcome back to the FreeMelon Society. Welcome back to the secret classroom. All you FreeMelons out there, you guys know how it is. We like to get into important subjects of discussion, and today is not going to be any different. So I think it was last week. This is before I went to the Texas Fruit Festival. Myself and Jeanette D'Onofrio, Misfit Vegan, we went through an interview and we talked about supplements, what they are, the nature of the industry. So we covered a lot of ground in that interview. And so I want to address a question that popped up and just talk about this and hopefully reiterate some of these concepts so that it's very clear, at least the perspective that I'm coming from when I think of these types of things. So I'm going to try to share that perspective with you in hopes that it helps you find a new way to think about these types of things. Okay, so here's the question. It goes like this. What about if you are from Vancouver and don't get sun for 9 months out of the year? How do we get vitamin D3 if we can't take supplements? I don't know what this word is. I think that it's probably a company name. It says Spurdy. I do Spurdy tanning lamp and a supplement. Okay. So, let's see. Where would I begin answering a question like this? There are a lot of ways to answer questions like this. And I think I'm going to start this way. All right. The first thing that I would do is address the underlying assumptions baked into the question. Because we're so accustomed to assuming the validity of certain concepts, we take that assumption and then we just run with it and build a question. So for example, this person's asking, in Vancouver, we don't get sun for 9 months out of the year. Yeah, the assumption behind that, okay, is that you are not getting sun during the daytime, during the daylight hours. The sun might not be peeking through the clouds, yes. But if it's daytime, if there's light penetration and it's making the daytime, the assumption there is that you are getting no sunlight or absorbing no nutrients from the sun, or there's no capacity for the sun's rays to give you the beneficial effect if there's cloud cover in between. So the assumption is that your body is incapable of taking anything from the sun if it's hidden by some clouds. So that's the first assumption, okay? That's baked into that question. The next assumption that's baked into this question is that D3 is the only thing that you need to worry about in order to get the benefits that a human being or an animal gets when they are in the sun. That's another assumption that is just taken for granted in this question, right? Okay, what about D20 or D8 or D3.6? There could be an inconceivable number of other things that happen in the body, other types of biochemistry, other types of subtle, sublimated types of energetic transmutations that is just not recorded right now by science, or it's just not focused on. The reason D3 is focused on is because they have an industrial process in place that can produce this toxic pile of nonsense for you and make money off of it. So they have to tell you that that's what you should be focused on. And sure enough, here's this question, right? And then he says he does a lamp and takes a supplement. Okay, so how do we address this? All right, let me just for a moment, okay, not make recourse to any type of worldly information that I might have accrued, all right, in research or whatever it is. Let's just go from ground zero, all right? and we'll imagine myself in my experience here on Earth, just doing what I can to live naturally. Okay, let's just say it's that. Now, I in real life actually, I never got the memo. I never got the memo through my whole upbringing, even through school. I never got the memo that vitamin D was something that I needed to think about. Okay. There was zero consideration of vitamin D growing up. All right. Now, I live in Toronto. I was born and raised in Toronto. Okay. In Canada, that is one of the northern climates that we're told does not get sun, and we need to worry about vitamin D. Okay, now I missed the memo, so I didn't know. Now I'm in. Let's just fast forward time, go through my entire upbringing as a child, meaning I grew. The critical developmental phase where I'm growing. All that time, no vitamin D3 supplements. Lots of people have this experience. I'm not saying that I'm the only one, right? I'm just telling a story. You guys understand? I'm just telling a story. So a real one. That's not a fake story. It's a real story in this case. Okay. Yeah. So I'm growing up, and by the time I'm in my 30s now, I I get the memo late. Okay, check my phone. Like, oh shoot, I'm supposed to be worrying about D3. All right, so I've got the memo late. Now, with that in mind, what is one to do? Assuming again, no research, just using your natural faculty of human reason. All right, some lab dweeb comes around after more than 3 decades of your life. Okay, you've already gone through 3 decades of your life, and not knowing any of this, and then some doorknob comes to you and says, by the way, the sunlight that you're getting, right, it provides you nutrients, and you don't get enough during the winter, so you need to take this supplement that I just happened to sell. You need to spend money on these, otherwise your health is going to be compromised. Now, when I'm given a premise like that, what tends to happen is the mind shoots back into its history, and it searches for references. Okay, it searches for any kind of experience that it can use to corroborate or to make sense of, or to categorize that new premise and see if it holds up. Now, going through my whole life, particularly the phase where I'm growing and developing, and never worrying about this once, my common sense tells me that if I never needed it up till this point, I'm already an adult, the chances that I actually do need this thing now, I have to assume are next to none. The sun was just as absent every single winter for my whole life, and no hint of D3 supplementation. Now, the only reason that we have questions like these is because the world has told you that you need to focus on them. That's it. That is the only reason. Because, and this is just me now, this is just my personal experience. If I'm looking at my own history, I can see that I've been perfectly fine going out in the sun as often as I wanted, no sunscreens ever. Now, I do have dark skin in my genetic makeup, okay? So there's that, right? If you're lighter skinned, then yeah, you would need to moderate. You would need to be careful not to get too much sun, because you can get too much sun, of course. But anyway, I'm not paying attention to any of this, and never anything adverse from simply living without giving some pharmaceutical monster my money. Okay, that's one thing. The other is the assumption that vitamin D3 even exists in the way they're telling you. There's the assumption that that element is what gives you the benefit from the sun. And I'm telling you directly, it is not. It is not. That supplement that you are taking is a vile abomination. It's not even what we're calling a vitamin, okay? It's a steroid hormone. It is a steroid hormone. It works just like a prednisone. And like a steroid hormone, okay, it will suppress symptoms. So you're suffering from some cluster of symptoms. The physician tells you to take a steroid hormone. You take it, your symptoms go away, but that didn't address your problems. You just stimulated the crap out of your system because that's what drugs do. The problem is still there, and now it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse the more you use this bloody steroid. Well, that's what vitamin D is. Vitamin D is fat soluble. What that means is all the stupid chemicals that they use to manufacture these goddamn poison pills is going to be stored in your fat tissue because your body doesn't have any idea what to do with this nonsense. It's got to protect itself by storing it in fats. And there it will wait for conceivably several months. Just one dose. Now, okay, now you may have heard this before, but yes, it's true. The type of cholecalciferol, which is the chemical name for one of the ingredients, the main ingredient in a vitamin D supplement, okay, it is a rodenticide, and the mechanism by which it kills rats is by drowning their system in its own calcium, okay? Which is why people on vitamin D supplements increase their risk for bone fractures. Okay, falls are going to be much more damaging when you're on vitamin D supplements. Vitamin D supplements will not do what it's claimed to do. It will not prevent the C word. Okay, it will not prevent that. It will slowly toxify you. People are going to say that the dose makes the poison. Yeah, cholecalciferol is rat poison, but the dose is so small for human beings. But the dose is so minimal for human beings that it doesn't matter. Yeah, no, it matters. Yeah, it matters. Okay, the reason they use lab rats is because they are so similar. Their physiological design is so similar to human beings. So if it's killing a rat, then when you take in this poison, it's not the dose makes the poison. You're taking poison. So it's going to slowly bioaccumulate in your fat tissue until inevitably the day comes when you are sick. And then you're going to jump into the other category that saps money from your wallet, right? Then you're going to go to the doctor, and then they're going to prescribe you the pharmaceutical drugs, the allopathic drugs. Okay, to actually answer the question, Eli, what would you do? All right, what would you do? Here's what I would say. It is not nearly so difficult for the human body to absorb everything it needs from the sun as we are told. In as little as minutes, okay, on a sunny day, in as little as minutes, you're going to get everything you need. You don't even need to remove your clothes. This is just hands and face. All right. I remember John McDougall gave a very good presentation on this, and if you go to his website, there are some articles written there. I can share the link with you guys. Yeah, I remember this. I remember reading over this a while back. You don't need to worry about this. Also, the amount of vitamin D that you have on reserve just from your summer months are enough. They are enough. Your body is magic. It is enough to carry you through the winter. All right? It is enough. When it's daylight, you are still absorbing the elements of life from the sun. All right. I don't even want to say vitamin D because it whatever they're doing in the lab is not reflective of what happens in real life. It what your body actually produces might not be what they're calling D3. It's just it's a biomarker that shows up when you do get sunlight, but it's not, but it is not what gives you the benefit. The sun gives you the benefit. Guys, can you imagine how insulting this would be for the creator who created this fiery, life-giving orb in the sky that powers all of the galaxy, that creates growth and restoration here on Earth? No animal is so removed from the natural order that it is free from the necessity of the sun's light to restore and maintain its vitality. The most grand and pivotal celestial body that literally powers the entire universe. You think that man, a chemist, can reproduce that divine glory in a pill? You're out of your mind. You guys are out of your minds. There is no, it does not work like this. Does not work like this. The reason that I never needed vitamin D for my entire life before the point that I got the memo that I needed to worry about this, the reason that it was never an issue was because a marketing agent never told me that I needed to worry about it. In the summer, you'll get the vitamin D that you need. In the winter, you will still be getting vitamin D as long as you go outside in daylight. There is still radiation in the atmosphere that you will absorb vitamin D. But if your mind is possessed of the idea that you need to worry about this, I'm guaranteeing you it's going to be a problem. Okay, you will create a problem for yourself. But even if the sunlight did not provide you what you need perpetually, okay, throughout both the seasons, even if that wasn't the case, okay, and you do run the risk of becoming deficient, supplements cannot help you. That's the thing, guys. We're putting our faith into products that do not merit that faith. They cannot help you. All they can do is provide the semblance of assistance, the semblance of recovery. They will stimulate the crap out of your system, make you feel like you need them, make you feel like they have done their job. They have not done any job. They have done you a disservice. You understand? Sorry. I don't know. I guess it's easy just to, because this stuff has been so frustrating, you know, looking at it, it's been very frustrating. In conclusion, all right, finally, if you are actually concerned though, then the UV lamp, I don't have any major issues with the lamp. I think that's a fine idea. Yeah, so you can use the lamp. Yeah, you can use the lamp. There's maybe someone else has another idea out there, but I'm not aware of any negative influence that the UV lamp provides. Now, it's an unnatural way to get the light, so I would always default to the sun, of course. And even in the winter, you know, if it's daytime outside, then, you know, just have some time where you're outside, be outside during the winter, whenever you can. Okay, so in conclusion, I don't make the assumption that vitamin D can even come close to delivering to me and my body and my mind what the Almighty, with his grand intelligence and infinite love, placed in the center of the galaxy to fuel the operations of life. Are you kidding me? I do not make the assumption that a lab geek can provide the same benefits as that celestial orb. Give me a break. Give me a break. So I don't make that assumption, all right? The other thing is just a purely personal, so don't take my word on this one. This is just a personal thing. But I have to ask, how the hell did I survive all these years not knowing that I needed a UV lamp, not knowing that I needed D3, and getting along just as fine as everybody else who's on these supplements? And number 3, if you are concerned, then yeah, the lamp is fine, okay? But and the bonus, don't let them convince you that you need their products. You don't. You do not need their products. Our minds just mess with us. They will mess with you. I got how 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 could sheep's wool bathed in chloroform and then mixed with acids and then precipitated and now blasted with a whole bunch of other solvents and then irradiated to create some sort of toxic sludge? How how is this benefiting anybody? It's not. It's not. Okay, a little addition that I have to make. Sometimes it's easy to just leave out context when you're in the middle of a rant, okay? So anyway, just like certain painkillers are toxic and are not good for you, yes, of course, there are instances and circumstances where those might be necessary in an emergency, okay? So I have to allow space for the possibility of some emergency where a supplement or stimulant of some sort is what you need to get over a hump. If that's the case, I would say that should be as temporary as possible so that you can get back to just getting your nutrition from food and do away with the supplements, right? But yes, okay, I shouldn't be so hasty. There may be circumstances where it's some emergency and you need to use a pharmaceutical drug, okay? What's important to understand though here, okay, is I just don't want people to have false ideas about the nature of these supplements, okay? I think that's what's important. That's what I'm trying to stress here. Thinking that these are providing what the sun is giving you is not correct, right? So we need to be mindful of that. Whatever is in that has no relation whatsoever. Oh my gosh. When you take a vitamin D blood test, that blood test is measuring a form of whatever we're calling vitamin D, the 25D, I think 25D. It's measuring a form of it that is an inactive form in your body, and it's stored all over your body. In every tissue, you can have this storage form of vitamin D. Only a small percentage of that is in the blood. The active form of vitamin D is almost nobody has deficiencies in this in the active form of it. Almost nobody. It's very, 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 very rare. And that active form, they don't test you for that active form that would actually give you a better indication of whether you're deficient or not. They never test for it. Why? Because it's very expensive. They're testing you for the presence of synthetic lab-produced vitamin D in your blood, and the reference ranges that you're trying to satisfy are being manipulated by these goofs who want to sell you their stuff. Okay? It's nonsense. It's nonsense. I never knew I had to fear the boogeyman until another boogeyman told me that I needed to fear that boogeyman. Well, screw these boogeymen, all right? I'm done. Guys, thank you very much for joining me here on the FreeMelon Society. Subscribe to this channel if you like videos like this, and I'll see you next time.